Nice. Way to hop on, guys. That was smooth. Real smooth. Like we never left.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, there's that. Okay. All right, go ahead, Kendall. Sorry that interrupted your
Nope,
conversation.
that's it. That's all I have to say.
I really like your idea. Yeah, that's kind of something that I've been personally working on myself too. Just trying to be more organized, and it's hard trying to get situated, and I don't even have a file cabinet, so I'm just, strewing papers everywhere. But like, yeah, I made binders for each thing, and it's really helped a lot, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh.
And just getting all of that information, because it is pen and paper, you know what I mean? All the physicals are just there in
Yeah,
the cabinet.
they're just laying there, whole big stack.
Yeah. So going through each one of those and collecting all that emergency information will take time.
Right.
And that's why I've given myself a month to do all of that stuff, because I am going to have to do that 30
Yeah.
minutes a day.
Oh yeah. No, I definitely understand.
Especially trying to write down all the different patient, like the emergency contact sheet that you're trying to make. It's annoying. It's necessary, but it'll be annoying.
Yes.
Yeah. Kendall, do you know that I know that I downloaded Dragonfly and I kind of like started using it, but then got so used to pen and paper that I just reverted back to that.
Yeah.
But do you know that if we decide to use kind of an online EMR system, if we have to use pen and paper? Because I'm thinking that if we don't, then that could be another option for you to kind of
Yeah,
declutter.
you have to use pen and paper through Franciscan in case something were to happen.
Okay.
They want you to have it documented on their paper.
Okay.
Wait, so then do you turn in everything you do to them, or they just
No.
want it?
They just want it there. That's why my filing system is a disaster,
Oh, I'm
because I write
sure.
note notes for injuries and I put it in a patient file, and then it just sits there for so long, and it's not being used. It's not being turned in. It's not being, information's not being taken from it. It's just in case something were to happen, and it's something that you can then look back on.
I don't know if you already talked about this, but how exactly were you planning on organizing like the papers, the evaluations by sport and year?
Yes.
Or
So I want it to be done by season. So like football, cheerleading, those kind of things.
right.
Right now, have them in one like filing box,
Okay.
and then switch those out when it comes to winter sports and spring sports.
Okay.
And then I just want a folder that has emergency contact information in it, physicals in it, and then like every time a patient comes in and I do a soap note or they bring a doctor's note or whatever, they get an individual file.
Okay.
So I don't have to have a file for every single athlete of that team in case it's never used. Then it's just a waste of space.
Right.
But if they do come in, to then make a file for them specifically, and then have that emergency contact information in there and that kind of stuff, just like, so it's going to be by year and by season.
Okay.
And then each sport would be divided individually. And then every time a person came in for that sport, they would be divided individually. That's my plan so far. I don't know if that would be the best way to do it. We will determine that by November.
No, it sounds good.
And I want everything to be the same. That OCD in me, like I am one of the most organized people I know, and I cannot get into that cabinet right now. And there's just so much information that I want in there.
Mm-hmm.
And getting all of that is really what's my biggest boundary right now. Like going into the office and saying, can I have all the physicals, is just like, oh my goodness type of thing right now. But it is driving me crazy. So
yeah. It's overwhelming at first. That's kind of how I had to do. I had to waltz in and ask for all the physicals at one time and get all that done. And it is overwhelming. But once you have it done, then you just know a system, and then you can just add on daily, and it's so much easier too.
Yeah. And that's why I want those, because I want to implement PROs so bad now that we've learned about them. And so I think just part of the file cabinet, that's what I'm calling it, will be that an efficient way. It'll make those more efficient because I've never used them before. So if I'm organized with those and have them, or have those PDFs like ready to use, and like a place that I keep all of them, will just make them easier to use in my setting. So
Cool.
and I really struggle with doing patient encounters. Like I went to go turn in my August patient encounters. Well, I'm going to turn them in, and I haven't had patient encounters written down since like the 17th or something. So for the last 10 days, I had to think about every patient encounter that I've had, like every tape, every wound care, every this, you know what I mean? So I need to find an efficient way to do that. So I'm just going to make it part of the file cabinet and find a way to do that efficiently.
Good.
So, yeah. All right.
I want to challenge you again. Can you okay?
Yeah.
I feel like turn up the music. To advocate for saving paper. Track like how many hours it takes you to freaking organize all that stuff. Track like how much freaking paper is in there and how much extra time it takes to have copies of everything, and give them facts and stuff and see if like they'll actually in the papers. Personally, I think it's a little ridiculous, but
Oh yeah, me too.
and it would just save you so much time and like so much stress, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I'm a little frustrated for you.
It is a lot, and I do have that pen and paper, and I have to have that pen and paper for Franciscan, but I try to limit to just those, and the PDFs will really be helpful, and like Excel sheets will be shared with coaches and myself, and I'll have those on my phone for emergency contact and physical information and stuff like that. Like I will not be making more copies of anything. So.
Awesome. Any last questions or comments? So I went back and forth. I had a couple, but I ended up with this one. So I want to give a little background. So this past year we had our one like sport mentor, which was Cody and Steve. He just accepted another job. His last day is Friday. So it's a little chaotic right now for the cross-country track and field care team, which is Dylan, Rob, and I. And now with Cody gone, we're having to take on a lot more administrative duties, kind of find a way to make it all work and still not overwork ourselves, which we're not going to. So my goal is to improve the work-life balance for the cross-country track and field care team. I want to make sure we're taking care of ourselves on top of taking care of everybody else. So my milestones are number one is we will consistently work less than 30 hours a week. I really don't want to be maxing out at that 35 every week. The second one, we will each have one day off a week due to travel and Saturday practices. I think it's doable, and we've done it in the past, and I want to continue to make it a thing. And then adding one clinician to our care team. Since we lost Cody, adding in this extra clinician, like maybe 2 to 3 days a week. I have people in my mind, but I'm working on that to figure out like how to make something work. So my daily action tasks, I will track each member's hours weekly and adjust the schedule as needed, like while maintaining the same high caliber patient care. We already have a ton of Excel sheets that we have our schedule, so I can see who's working when, what shifts, so like I don't have to ask everybody every day how many hours they're working. I can just look at that sheet. I will challenge each member to utilize their one day off to do something they love outside of work and school, whether it's reading a chapter of a new book, taking a nap, going on a short hike, doing a long run or a long bike ride, anything like that. Whatever it is that they feel maybe it's lacking in their life. I will promote positivity in the workplace by avoiding using negative terminology or complaining, so I really want to limit any complaining that I personally do. And by making changes to the environment to make it more comfortable. So right now we're in the annex facility, and it's probably hotter in there than it is outside. Really humid, so I'm gonna go to the Goodwill and get a fan. Maybe get a Bluetooth speaker, kind of, I don't know, make it a little bit more enjoyable in there right now. It's so hot. At least once every other week, I will have the members of the care team fill out a level 10 life circle, which I just found on Pinterest last night, so I'm share my screen. It's kind of cool. There we go. So it looks like this. They'll get to do whatever categories are important to them or what they value in their life. And every other week, so it's on a scale of 10, there's 10 like rings. So they'll shade in whatever 1 out of 10 they feel like they're achieving that aspect of their life, or like it's balanced. I don't know how to explain it. I just looked into it last night. But so I'll keep track of these and see maybe where I can help them develop little mini goals for each aspect that they're maybe lower in within that 2-week span, stuff like that. So I want to incorporate little things like that and help them kind of achieve that balance. And then, okay, yeah, that's all I have so far. I was just listing a bunch of ideas, but I wanted to see if y'all had any cool ideas to help me with this.
I just had a question to start. So with the form that you just showed us, and then you said you're gonna make little mini goals depending on like what sections are lower than the others. Were you planning on then at the like for a milestone, seeing if you could move, 2 groups of 2 boxes, or something like that, like a tangible number? Was that kind of what you were going for, or is there? How they see themselves, like a PRO, but I don't know which one to pick yet. So that one you would talk to Dr. Bowden about, but like seeing how they rate themselves as using work-life balance, and then after you implement all these different changes, maybe seeing how they keep their work-life balance at the end of all this, just to see like if they went up, if they went down, stay the same. And then even if you find a good enough sheet, you could probably do it more like 2 or 3 times to try to gauge how you're doing halfway through, but I think that would be another good way to do it.
Yeah, I really like that idea. And honestly, when I was browsing around on Pinterest, where I found that circle where a bunch of like work-life balance quizzes and did-you-life balance quizzes and stuff like that, which I had fun taking. But I definitely like the idea of getting like a pre and post to see if maybe there's some improvements. I think that's a great way to measure that. So I'll definitely look into that. See if Powden has any suggestions for me.
I think considering stepping away from work-life balance might be an interesting idea, because I don't remember what class it's in, but you talk about like work-life balance and what is it, and is it really possible? Is it really attainable? Because everyone's work and life balance is different. And so I would challenge you to just like, you don't have to spend a ton of time doing this, but there's a lot out there on job satisfaction and life satisfaction versus work-life balance. They're pretty similar, but they're a little bit more geared towards what you might be looking at here with like, how satisfied are we with how things are working now that Cody's gone, type of thing. So consider that.
Definitely, yeah. And that's kind of where I was struggling to find more of that work-life balance measurements and stuff. Yeah, I didn't really know how to measure that, because I can measure like.
It's kind of what Dr. Games and I have been trying to look at for like measuring outcomes for this. There's not a ton of it in medicine, but there's a lot of it in like business and like psych literature on
Okay. So I'll look more into that literature. Yeah, it's super helpful because I don't want to really deviate from the primary goal of work-life balance, measuring that. So I didn't really realize that I was kind of drifting like more into that, just, I don't know, life satisfaction and stuff. So appreciate it. Any last comments or questions?
So I will say that I think that your whole goal and stuff is very important. And I think that it's going to be very challenging for you and for Rob and for Dylan. And I think you have a pretty good plan set out. But I think that some of your things that you're shooting for might be unrealistic. I mean, you're essentially losing someone that put in at least 40 hours a week. So, I mean, if you split that up between the three of you, you're looking at least 10 hours a week added to you guys each. Unless you guys can find a way to become extremely efficient, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. But I think that if you guys work at this and look at this from a job satisfaction and life satisfaction point of view, instead of work-life balance, like the hours necessarily, I know we have to stay under the 35 hours and stuff like that, but really working to make sure that your hours are efficient, and finding a way to increase overall satisfaction with your job while you're at your job is going to be kind of where you make this happen. How you do that, the way that you have it set out is very different than how I would set it out. But we're also extremely different people. And I think that the way that you do have it set up is probably what's going to work best for you, Rob, and Dylan. So I'm really excited to see how this goes. And I'm really excited to kind of hopefully help you along the process.
I appreciate it, Adam. Yeah, kind of what I laid out is just what's worked for us in the past. We've had to make a lot of adjustments, kind of like with each season, because track is just so different from cross country, and like having both of them and the mid change in the season with indoor outdoor, it's just I don't know, it's a lot of changes, and having to please the coaches, so making sure that we are offering a set amount of hours for patient care. So we totally, like, that's our goal, that's what they want. So before we were doing like 12 to 6 treatments, but Dylan, Rob, and I would stagger hours. So we weren't ever pushing our hours. The day off a week totally worked last semester for outdoor season. So I think that is going to be a challenge trying to figure it out for like this season right now. It's a little bit more difficult, and especially with Cody leaving, that's why I want to bring in an extra set of hands, maybe 2 to 3 days a week, primarily for treatments, and also to introduce someone to like that team-based approach and maybe help them personally and clinically kind of achieve some more goals. And I don't know, I have just like a ton of goals and things that I want to happen, so I'm pretty stoked about this. But just, yeah, making sure like we're all mentally and physically healthy to make sure that this all works out. So.
Yeah. Can I ask, who do you think that person to come and help out 2 to 3 days a week is? Like, who do you think, like, how do you think that's going to go?
So, I don't really want to drop names yet. I've talked with Cody, I've talked with Shelly. We've found a way. And it was just looking on patient load, hours, demand, that sort of thing, and then personal growth and what they kind of want to get out of like their experience and stuff. So that's like still in the making. It's just kind of an idea, but it is my goal to really make it happen. So
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah, pretty excited.
So does anybody else have anything for Kristen? Because I have a few thoughts I want to give to everybody before. Okay, so what just happened was, Kristen, I appreciate your goal, But when you were saying your goal, you were also saying a lot of stories that people have told you, and the fact that we are losing Cody and now we have to replace Cody. Your job as a graduate assistant, your hours don't change regardless if there is Cody or there is no Cody. Okay? So although I feel like you should have some influence and you should, advocate for yourself and for Dylan and for Rob, that you guys should not be replacing Cody and you should be finding somebody else to help come in. Like, don't settle for that. Do not feel like you have to replace Cody. Break that story. Okay? And then my last point really quickly is that you guys did a good job. Like, you guys all have some pretty good goals and I'm excited to see how they play out. But if you notice how each and every one of you presented your goals, it all came from a place of lack, and it came from a place of, I don't have this, I don't have that, we have not done this before. And so the whole point of this, again, is to break those stories and to get you guys to think about coming from a place of abundance, and that will help set you up to better achieve these goals rather than coming from a place of lack where I don't have this, so now it's going to be harder. Think about, oh, okay, Cody's gone, now we have this opportunity to kind of mold this how we want it. Or, oh, we don't have a documenting system, I now have the opportunity to set this up how I want to set this up. Does that make sense? So
Definitely.
you guys are all enough where you guys are at. You guys, everyone is enough for this world. We just want to be better. Okay? All right, I gotta go.
All right, thanks. We have to go too.
Thanks everybody.
That was great. Thanks, guys.
Yes.